message affirmation today is I am open to loving more. But as many of you know, we're winding up our 14-week series on how to improve your outlook. And it's based on a series of 14 questions. And so the question that this affirmation is based on today is how can I love more? So this is what we are being asked to ask ourselves. How can I love more? How can I love more? And of course, to know that you can, it's good to affirm that I am open to loving more. And indeed, we all have that possibility and that opportunity, and quite possibly that need. We know as we go through life, most of us move in circles of people who are very similar to us, very similar in ideas and in our way that we live and the just different areas of our life that are important to us, just because that's how humans tend to be. They tend to hang out with people who are like-minded and similar-minded. But we also, of course, especially here, living in such a diverse city, we experience a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different faith beliefs and a lot of different socioeconomic conditions and a lot of different, all kinds of things. And so it's often challenging for us to be as open-minded as we know that we should according to the teachings of the master teacher Christ when it comes to interacting with people who aren't like us. We find that challenge here well, actually quite frequently. This morning we found that lovely donation. I don't know if any of you noticed as you walked in of that, like 3,000-pound organ. I don't know, how could anybody even get that here? I don't know. They must have come up with a truck and just dropped it off. We encounter a lot of people right here in our neighborhood who are unhoused or they have some mental challenges. Sometimes people come into, well, frequently we see people come into the church and we know that we like to follow Christ, the way shower, and be as loving and giving and as open as we can. And a lot of times that's a challenge for us because sometimes the demands on us are so high. People, they want money or they want something this way, that way, this way, that way. And it can be a real challenge because we are being asked to interact with these people who aren't like-minded. They aren't like us. They're different from us. And we see this across our world, right, as well as right here in our own building. And so it's times like this when we know that Christ would want us to show more love. And we can affirm, I am open to loving more. And of course, this doesn't mean, I'm certainly not suggesting that means that you have to, open your wallet and give people money if they ask for it in that situation. And actually, most agencies affirm and tell us not to do that. That's kind of the worst thing you can do. So keep that in mind too. But certainly, we have the capacity to show love, even if it's just like emotionally understanding or acknowledging that, you're in this situation, but I'm a human and you're a human, and we can certainly find a common ground in this interaction because I have the capacity to love more, because I know as a New Thought student that that's what Christ wanted me to do. Those are the things that Christ has taught us to do as we read about his life in these scriptures that all the people submitted about him. And in all of the scriptures, which is really a wonderful thing because we know so often we hear that, 6 or 12 different people who saw the same thing are going to report the incident 12 different ways. But we see there's a lot of synchronicity, thank goodness, in the scriptures, and certainly the four gospels are pretty much all consistent. And we know that the life of Christ was one of openness and love for people regardless of their background or their circumstance or their situation. Everyone from the prostitutes to the tax collector, he befriended and he showed love to because he knew about love and he knew about compassion. It's great that so much of our fellowship and our service today was about love, and I loved the lyrics of the song that Chrissy was singing because we know that when we do step outside of ourselves and we put ourselves in a situation where we're showing love, especially in a situation where it's somebody who's not necessarily lovable, because it's easy to love the lovable. Everybody can fall in love with a fuzzy little puppy dog. It's not easy to show love to somebody who is, not taking a shower in 3 weeks and their clothes are all tattered and their mind is somewhere else because of possibly mental illness that isn't treated or the use of some drugs or something. That compared to the puppy dog it's a challenge. It's a challenge to show love to that person. And we need to constantly be reminding ourselves that we are open to loving more, that we do have the capacity to love more, and to ask ourselves the question, how can I love more? So when I'm in that situation, and again, I'm not saying that you need to, reach in and give this person money, but certainly have the compassion and the understanding to empathize with this situation and say, I feel bad for this person. I'm not going to be judgmental. I'm not going to pass off judgmental thoughts. I'm not going to be this person who is unkind in this situation. And I'm going to show love, even if it is, a cup of coffee and a donut, or, have a seat, or what is so often needed the most is just an ear, just to let people talk, to lend people an ear and let them speak and let them get something off their mind. And that's the biggest challenge. Sometimes it's easier to hand over money than to sit and listen to somebody's story, because you really don't want to. And some of them, they babble on and they make no sense, or, they tell you something and you think, well, every step of your life you made the worst mistakes, and they were so obvious. Why didn't you just do this? Anyway, so there can be a challenge in listening, but that's such a giving, wonderful thing to do. And that is a wonderful way to show love. And we know after we've experienced a circumstance or a situation like that where we've shown love, that we do feel like we're flying high among the eagles. We're in a better place because we feel so much better about ourselves. And we know that this is achievable by showing more love and being more loving. I was watching on television, because I get up really early on Sundays to prepare. There was an old episode of Hazel, and there was, I don't know if anybody ever saw that show. I didn't until it came out, and well, obviously I didn't until it came out in reruns, but there's an episode where, the snooty aunt is so disconnected with her daughter, and the daughter comes home from dates and always runs in to talk to the maid, which really infuriates the mother more. And it's the maid that shows her, you know what, you just need to sit down and talk and listen. What you need to do is listen and let her come in after her dates and talk to you about it, and, get this close relationship. And of course, that happens, and all in the span of 30 minutes. That's really wonderful. If life could be that great, huh? That is a loving thing to do. So we know that there are so many things that we can do when we ask ourselves, how can I love more? And we know that through, not being so judgmental and harsh in our criticisms when we do encounter people who are different than us in different ways, because they're from a different background, or they're a different gender, or a different faith belief system, or different socioeconomic, any number of things, because I'm sure I could sit here and list them out all day. But we know that by overlooking that and being Christ-like, as we are meant to be, as God has wanted us and created us to be, as we affirm every Sunday when we're here, we are perfect, spiritual, and divine by design. We've been designed to be more loving and to show this kind of love. So as you go through the week, hopefully everybody will have the opportunity to have a little bit of time to be meditative or contemplative, and ask yourself, how can I love more? And maybe look around your life and see, are there people who are different than me that I am a little more judgmental towards, or a little more caustic towards, or I don't have as much patience towards, or maybe I could lend more of an ear to sometimes. These are wonderful, wonderful ways that we can show more love. So you may not find it easy to like a difficult person, but it is always possible for you to love a child of God. So indeed, if that person you're dealing with is difficult, that's one I didn't cover, but yeah, I'm sure that we've all come across that. Perhaps a neighbor who's difficult, a coworker who's difficult. Rather than seeing them as that difficult so-and-so person, see them, you know what, they're a child of God, so I can be a little more understanding. I can have a better temperament. I can try to empathize more with the circumstance or situation they're going through, because I have the capacity to love more. And certainly I have the capacity to love a child of God, which we all are. We're all beloved children of God. All right, I'd like to invite you to join me in prayer. Eternal and loving God, we thank you so much for having created us with the capacity to love more, to do more, to be more in all things, every day, in every way. We thank you, Lord, for loving us so incredibly and so wonderfully that indeed our own spirits can overflow with this excessive love that we have. We thank you, Lord, for all of the blessings that you bestow upon our lives, and especially the love that you instill in us that we can show others, and for the love that you show us each and every day. We thank you, Lord, in the name of faith, hope, and love. Amen.